I'd like to call the order the July 8th regular meeting of the Oregon City Council. The time is 7:02 p.m. If you'd all join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Snyder, would you please take roll call of council's attendance this evening?
Mrs. Ackerman? Here. Mr. Drake?
Here.
Mr. Horniak?
Here.
Mrs. Paula?
Ms. Paul just stepped away. She will be joining us in just
Okay.
a moment.
Mr. Reeves? Here. Mr. Solander?
Here.
Mr. Wallensack?
Here. Thank you, council. All members are here. Ms. Paula will join us shortly. Also in tonight's attendance is Mayor Michael Safarian, City Administrator Joel Mazer, Interim Clerk of Council Josette Snyder, Law Director Melissa Purpura, Public Service Director Paul Roman, Assistant Chief of Police Ryan Spangler, Fire Chief Clayton O'Brien, Assistant Chief Mark Mullins, and Finance Director Nick Roman. Council, the first item we have for us this evening is the approval of the minutes from the June 24th, 2024 regular council meeting. Can I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Pauloff.
I move to approve the minutes from the, June 24th meeting minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Pauloff.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Slander. We have a motion by Ms. Pauloff, seconded by Mr. Slander. Council, any objections?
No.
The minutes from the June 24th, 2024 regular council meeting are accepted as presented. Next item we have is persons and delegations. We did have one individual contact us ahead of time. We do have a couple people signed in. We have, and I'm going to try this really carefully. Tell me and correct me if I missed. Karen Baruti? Am I good? All right. From Lucas County Health Department. Mr. Baruti, will have you come up and address council. And I would just ask you, just state your name and your address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Kareem, K-A-R-I-M. Last name is Baruti. I'm the new public servant here in Lucas County in the capacity of a health commissioner. And I do really appreciate the invite today and letting me address council. We feel strongly about your city, and we feel strongly that the city belongs to Lucas County big time. That's why I'm here today on my goodwill tour to let you know that although we are in Toledo and downtown Toledo, we are to serve Lucas County as a whole. And in particular, where we have population, from a public health standpoint, we look at population strength and tourism and everything else, and your city comes on top, and that we need to be careful with. So to that extent, I'm here to kind of introduce myself. The vision is, again, to be for the whole county and serve all the cities, and being a good public servant. I want to be close to the people, so I want to hear from all of you. I want to hear from all your constituents and the people you serve proudly on any health issues. I did distribute a little bit of what we do at the health department, the health department services we have. I think my goal here in the next 6 months is to show value of public health services in Lucas County to your citizens. To that extent, that's what I'm here, and that's what I have so far. I would really appreciate it if you guys invite me later to kind of give you a better assessment of what the needs are in your communities, closer to neighborhoods, so on and so forth. To that extent, I can entertain any questions or any concern you might have. If not, you have my card in there. Please reach out with any concerns and I will be more than glad to make sure we help and serve well.
Thank you, Mr. Reedy. Council, any questions?
Not, Mr. President,
Please, Mr.
I don't have any questions, but I appreciate you being here and the information that you're giving us or that you gave to us. This is the first time we've ever, in my 17 years on being on council, that we've had anybody that's come from the health, Lucas County Health Department to talk with us. So I greatly appreciate that and look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's going to take all of us to make a difference. It's going to take all of us to improve the health of your communities. And I'm really looking forward to work with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reedy.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Moving through other persons and delegations, we have 3 people signed in for this evening. And folks, as we've been doing for most of this as we go, we'll try to keep remarks to 3 to 4 minutes so we can stay on pace with the business agenda at hand. So the first person we have is Craig Sunday. And we'll ask you to state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Craig Sunday. My address, I'm a Perrysburg
Lean
resident.
tip. That's about as high as you're going to get
All
out.
right. The business address is 2841 Munding Drive, Orchard Villa Nursing Home. I'm the administrator and this is Alicia, my director of nursing. So we're here to I felt like this morning I was cruising along and doing okay. And we had heard from the board that we were going to get all this help dealing with the 23-bed dementia unit that's full and shooting fireworks over it with 7 veterans in there. And then this morning, Assistant Chief Mullins came out and visited us and basically told us that was a gift that wasn't going to happen. So started to scramble, started to try to scramble my own transport. I wanted to put up a tent with some kind of hydration for Charles Crest, Arbors, and us, being that we're in walking distance, but basically going to be a party outside a window that I got to tell my residents either don't go to, or the attitude that we
have to
took,
make a party out of it.
we got to make this fun. Like, these people have to enjoy this. They're going to live in it the whole night, all night, past midnight. So in a nursing home, like, you can't just walk to someone's room and just open the door and say, hey, what are you doing?
Let's go.
You have to knock. So we can't just shoot off fireworks in their front lawn. I mean, if someone did that in your subdivision, it probably wouldn't go over so well. So that's basically what we're doing. We're about 400, 500 feet, I think, by the chief's measurements. And I have right on that unit, 23 dementia people, 55 total patients on that end. And it's going to be loud and it's going to be, I mean, I'd say obnoxious, but hey, have you guys lived through the 4th in the last week? Like, I'm done with fireworks. I'm way over it. It was cool when I was a kid. Smoke bombs are fun, but I got nothing for it now. So to piece it together, I asked for some staff. I asked for a transportation service of some kind for the residents. We advertised it to all the families. We hope the families will take them down. You're not going to get a commitment from any family, but a busing service and a hydration, some kind of tent to keep water. It's going to be 90 degrees. It's going to be humid. So that was kind of our dream, and that got ripped away. So then I got a little emotional and upset for 130 people that I represent, and that's my job. So I'm here doing my job. I want them to be able to go and enjoy, maybe eat off a food cart that day because doc says, because nurse says, have a beer. Like, that's okay. If the doctor says it's cool with us. But yeah, I just wanted to see that through. I feel like I got a lot of promises and then it was ripped off the table. So I'm here today with the last, hey, help us. I'm going to need double the staff. I'm going to need a crew there. I'm going to need a crew in my building. And we're looking at running buses that I pay for myself right now. Way not in budget, but 4 hours that day, 2 hours taking them out, 2 hours bringing them back. Let's make this fun for the people who have to live in it. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yeah, I was going to say, Mayor or administration.
So, and Craig,
Yep.
I know we had a little short time getting started.
Yeah.
But didn't we assure that that would pretty much happen?
I mean, this morning at 10 o'clock, no.
No, but now,
I feel like, yeah, Kelly's here.
Yeah,
Maybe
Kelly
Joel-
is
yeah.
not here,
Yep.
but yeah, Kelly's not
Met
here.
Joel today, like,
Yeah.
there's some hope behind that. Yeah, I just don't want to see my people sitting on
No.
their hands
We got
with
the
Disneyland
tent,
outside.
we got the tent.
I-
We-
Don't know that. No, I,
We do.
yeah, we have
All right.
nothing,
All
that's
right.
why I'm here.
I'm
Like,
telling
I need
you,
someone
you
help to this.
One person.
I'm telling you,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you, Mike.
we
Okay.
confirmed, with Meredith Tent that we confirmed that I
Cool.
did, on probably at 5:30.
Okay.
We'll have, fluids in the tent.
And
We're
I'll have a
helping you
nurse.
with the cost of transportation.
Yeah.
And there was a third,
Staff, I gotta
We'll
have
have to have staff watching the people that are outside and that are doing things, and then the ones that
Duplicate
don't.
staff.
inside, yeah, basically, I'm gonna be double staffed
So we
that
have to
night.
double
And that
staff
doesn't
from
fly
really-
with people above me.
well, that, we don't have the staff people, but we made a financial
yeah.
commitment.
I set up an account
Yeah.
to fund that
Yes.
with my company, so. yeah.
Okay, so that I believe we will have that all worked out.
Sounds right to me, as long as we come through.
Yeah, no, we will deliver that.
Well, and I think anybody up here would tell you, and especially the mayor, with the activity and the things that he's talking about with this evening, is that they will
Yeah.
come
no,
to fruition. And I would say probably somewhere in the next 24 to 48 hours, we can just confirm that via email
By
or in
tomorrow, by
writing
tomorrow.
somehow.
Cool.
This is all of what will be available so that you have a little
Good.
peace of mind and comfort
Yeah,
for
yeah.
how to operate and serve your communities the best.
Not on me. But no, yeah, so.
And we look forward to
No,
the
yeah, I want
folks
them to
there
come.
having a good
I want them to
time.
come,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to be with them. Like, it's gonna be
Yeah.
a blast. Yeah, that's the type of administrator I am, so. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll be in touch. That's really all I have.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
appreciate it.
Next, we have Lynn Gibbs. And Lynn, if you just state your name and your address for the record.
Lynn Gibbs, 3145 Dogwood, Oregon. I came here just tonight just to say that, once again, to talk to Michael Safarian, our mayor, and say that probably none of this would have happened if you'd have went to them first. And I don't represent anyone in Orchard Villa now because she passed in the last 2 weeks. But when I caught the call from Craig this morning, I mean, this is not good. This just is not a good look. When we're going to do something like this, I don't have a problem with the Boom Fest. I don't care where you have the Boom Fest. I don't even care, have the Boom Fest. I'm not a Boom Fest person. But when we do this stuff as a city, we have to look at the most vulnerable people in our city and take care of them and take care of the people that are taking care of them. And so I'm not here to talk really to anybody because from what I understand, nobody else was involved in the major decision-making but you. And like I said, the Boom Fest is yours, that's fine. I don't have a problem with Boom Fest. But we need to start looking at this stuff ahead of time. And I think the day you decided to do it at Dunn's, if you'd have just done full circle look around at what was there and walked over and talked to these guys, half this could have been avoided. And that's all I'm saying, is I think we need to think ahead if we do stuff like this. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. And next, we have Christine Gladjo. And again, Christine, if you just state your name and your address for the record.
So Christine Gladjo, 512 South Lollendorf. For those that don't know, I spent 25 years in the nursing home business, and it is a passion of mine. What I believe has happened is a miscommunication. A 23-bed memory care with residents, 7, so that's almost a third of their population that are veterans. The anxiety that any situation outside causes requires by state for Craig and his team to staff it. His staffing cost is 30% higher than it was 2 years ago. There is so little attention about nursing homes in this country. It's all negative. What Craig and his team do is provide a safe place, a home for our most vulnerable population. If you think of anyone with Alzheimer's, even he's probably got, I'm going to guess 30% stays there 15 days for rehab. But 70%, I'm going to guess, I don't know his census, this is their home. He has a vent unit to staff that 24/7 and then along on a Saturday, which is the most difficult day to find staff and the most expensive to provide the tent. And Mike, I can't imagine what he felt when just $1,000 coverage happened to him when the fire chief said that was withdrawn. You cannot imagine what went behind the scenes for him to start calling. Medicaid probably reimburses him $184 a day. I know I was a chief financial officer for 2 different nursing homes. The cost to run a nursing home is about $225 a day. To maintain a vent unit and a memory care, and I don't know his financials, but I'm gonna guess it's $250 a day. It's a loss. We're losing nursing homes across the country because there's no funding for them. Where are these patients gonna go? And then you put a party, fireworks, music until 1 a.m. Can you imagine at your own home having that being done and holding a population with dementia and vets? I know it's too late to change, but I think if you had gone and talked, this is not a business. This is a home for these patients. We call them residents. I haven't been in the nursing home world for a year, so I'm a little outdated probably in my financial numbers, but I think it's gonna cost them $10,000 if I did a quick envelope just to do the staff, the hydration. They have to take vitals of every single resident. It's required by law. They have to, and then if they have an elopement, which means a resident that gets out of the memory care, that resident will probably die in this heat, 3-4 hours. I don't know the stats, but we do have an expert here. I think the pressure that you're putting on this community and I think if you guys could just understand and help them financially do what they can to staff it. I know them. I've worked with Craig off and on throughout my career. They will do whatever it takes. I bet you he has every single management staff working Saturday to make sure those residents are safe. So I'm just asking you to please make them whole because there's no funding in nursing homes. None. And I'm going to guess in 10 years in rural communities, there will be 0 nursing homes to support the people that have worked to build this country. So I just making a statement, and I did not know that you retracted that withdrawal and now are giving him some funding. But I would ask you to divert some of that budget to cover the cost for his staff because they deserve it. That's all I have. I'm sorry, I'm very passionate about it.
It's very good. Thank you, Ms. Flaggio.
Mr. President,
Mayor,
just to clarify some of the things that happened there. It was in a rash dash that I had to come up with a venue, and Dunn's was the venue I came up with. And any of the things, of course, this is all new this year, but when it did come into problems that existed with the nursing home within, I think I talked with Melissa, Kelly, and in 3 hours we had it solved. So that's what would always been our intention, to take care of it, address any of the problems. And in a 3-hour period, we addressed the concerns, and they were very happy at the nursing home. I spoke to them. They're trying to make an event. They even said, well, they heard that this might be the only time we have it there because there'll be a build out of the residential property. We won't be able to shoot fireworks. I'll still try to see if there's a way we can do it next year there, but they were kind of say, hey, we got to take advantage of this now because this might be the only year. So they're trying to make it a fun event, and we're trying to make it a fun event for their folks there too. So yeah, could we have gone and looked at it better? Yeah, but as soon as the problem arose, we did everything we could to address it. And we did it very quickly. And as far as I know, they seem to be quite happy. So there was never an intent to stick something in someone's face like it was presented to us, but more or less to make it as good an event that we could for everybody involved. And we'll continue to do that.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. President.
Mr. Slander.
Thank you, Mr. President. This being at hand, I have two suggestions that I would just requesting. One, since we were up against short amount of time, can we start now planning next year? And secondly, my request is to maybe help avoid some of these different issues that have come about, having a committee to do this so that you don't have to do it all on your own, but being able to have other people there to have different perspectives and may think of things that, nothing against you, but that maybe you didn't think about. Just to make it a little easier and easier on you too. So you don't have everything on your shoulders, but have a committee to be able to help you with it. So just a request.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Slander. Mr. Mayor.
I suggested that in allocations of money, as soon as Boomfest is over, to reallocate for next year so that we could start a year in advance. That I didn't have that option this year because the money wasn't allocated. Tried to get it earlier, but that just didn't happen. But yeah, I would love to do that. It would be, to pull off an event like this, it takes an awful lot. And we knew there would be some things surface, but we tried to address them, which we did.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Slander.
Mr. President.
Mr. Drake.
Yeah, I got a question. I'm not sure. I don't know if I should ask Nick or Joel or the mayor. So how much money is the city or your donations going towards their tent and ice, water and ice, just out of curiosity?
Go
The
ahead.
tent was $200. The water and whatever, we just have that in the system, so we didn't count it as money. There was approximately $1,000 gone towards their financial commitment. So-
Okay, because I was just wondering if, maybe to help them out, because like Mrs. Gladjo said, everybody knows hospitals and nursing homes are outrageous. And I just wondered if, hopefully that's enough to help out with whatever they need. And if not, I wouldn't have a problem. And we won't know till after the event's over probably. But to possibly, try to do something, maybe play the police and fire game in the fall and have a fundraiser, and whoever wins the game, they can donate it to Orchard Villa and the other place next door. So I was just curious,
Yeah.
just to make sure, that it sounds like that's kind of what you talked about. He seemed good with it, but
Yeah, he was
I just
he was
wanted to
very
make sure.
content. I spoke to him out in the hallway, was very content. One thing that we were able to achieve is when you expanded the funding source by $15,000, I was able to overachieve that. So we've got all that, collected all that money, and I think about $3,500 in addition to that. So we will be able to completely fund the project. The $60,000 commitment from the city will not be, there will be no funds other than that come from city funds. And we even got a few dollars to start next year's.
okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Drake. Council, anything additional? Mayor, I just have maybe one suggestion or comment to make in regards to that. So if we assume that we're consistent with our timing of Boom Fest. Next year's 4th of July falls on a Friday, if I don't miss my guess. Are we to assume that July 12th would be the likely date? And if so, can we set that date and get it locked in? And that
We-
way a venue doesn't become an issue, short-term doesn't become an issue. We're planning it a year in advance.
Yeah,
Are we able to do
either-
that?
Either the 12th or the 17th. 12th gets kind of close. I have to check what our deals are on the fireworks. There's an extension, and sometimes the mayflies are still in, like if it would have been last
Mhm.
week, we still had them.
Mhm.
This week, we're pretty good. So we'd like to be at least that week after the 4th for all our benefit. But yeah, if we can get it locked in
I think the
August.
sooner the
In
better.
August
It
would
just
be
allows
good.
for better planning probably and more time for you and
Absolutely.
your staff to be able to work through that. So thank you, Mayor. Council, we did not have a committee of the whole meeting. We'll move into our agenda. So we will need to add items 116, 117, 118, and 119 of 2024 to this evening's agenda. Can I seek a motion to add those?
Mr. President,
Mrs. Paula.
so moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Paula.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves, seconded by Mr. Reeves. Council, any objections? Hearing none. Items 116, 17, 18, and 19 are all added to the agenda. And we will start with item 116 presented by Mayor Micah Safarian and Finance Director Nick Roman. Mr. Roman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance would allow us, would authorize us to enter into an agreement with the State of Ohio Department of Development to continue our revolving loan fund that we have, that we initially received funds for in the early 2000s. We had used to help loan out to a business, and they had paid back program income over time. And it would allow us to keep administering that fund.
Very good. Thank you. Council, any questions?
Mr. President,
Ms. Sacrament.
on the, on that grant program, of the 3 primary development goals, I would just wonder, Mr. Major maybe knows this, which of those 3 or any or all were we shooting for with this? On page, I'm sorry, page 1 of 12. C 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Ms.
Does that conclude
Ackerman.
the question? All right,
Mr.
Mr.
President,
Roman? Yes,
so-
please.
So this program, when it was initially started, it was a $250,000 that came in, that was loaned out, had been paid back until 2018. We have not used any of these funds since 2014. There's pretty specific rules that you have to follow, and you have to get authorization from the state of Ohio to allow you to do a project. And since we haven't done it in so long, we don't have experience over in the finance department of exactly what needs to be done in order to get a project on the books. We are trying to work with the state and the county to find projects that would be eligible. So at this time, we don't have any prospective projects, but we are working to make sure that we understand all the rules and that we follow exactly what is needed. Once I do have a better understanding, I can talk about it, but for right now, we need to get this agreement in place so we don't have to send those funds back.
Thank you. There was a lot of criteria and
Exactly. And we did actually, at one point in time, I forget what year it was, I think it was like 2016, 2017, we did get in trouble for using them a certain way that we weren't allowed to, so we had to pay it back with general fund money. And so we just don't want to get ourselves in that situation again. So we just want to make sure we're doing everything correctly, so we're going to work with the state and the county to get it.
thank you, Mr. Roman.
You're welcome.
Great.
Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Mr. Roman. Thank you, Ms. Sacrament. Council, any additional questions on 116?
Mr. President, I have one comment.
Please.
So when I was in Napoleon, we had these funds. They were used for a lot of like home remodels and other things, and very seldomly used, but it was actually managed by the Maumee Valley Planning Organization, which is a regional organization that covers 5 counties. So they did a lot of marketing for it, and they ran the program, and for the city, it was just money in, money out. So it would be, I think to be able to get the funds to be used and work with the state of Ohio and get the, I don't want to say advertising, but get the word out that these are available for people to use. So that
Okay.
That's something we can do a better job of on our end if they haven't been used since 2014.
Mr. President?
Yeah,
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mazur. Mr. Wallensack.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Mr. Roman, please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this is for economic development. This is not
correct.
for
Yeah,
residential
so,
housing.
yeah, there's two.
Yeah, I just don't
I'm
want to
thinking- I'm
mislead
thinking
that
the
this
other
is
one.
going to be something for residential
That's right.
housing construction or
Yeah, that's a separate
Repairs.
agreement that we'll actually,
Yeah,
we'll
this
see
is
next
not
year.
that.
Okay, I was-
And our engineering department, Andrea Beard, is the one who typically heads it up, and she does do projects practically every year with those funds. And it's typically sidewalks or different things to help out.
exactly. That's another loan fund that we deal with.
Yeah, that's correct.
That is
Yep.
correct. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wallensack. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Ackerman.
on page 5, I was really impressed with Build America, Buy America, that the criteria for what is like effective July 1st, all manufactured products used in covered projects must be produced in the United States. So if you guys haven't looked through it, I mean, there was a lot of good encouraging language in it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ackerman. Council, anything additional on 116? Hearing nothing, I will assign item 116 of 2024 as ordinance 116 of 2024 and ask Ms. Snyder to read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor and finance director to enter into an agreement with the State of Ohio Development Services Agency for the administration of an economic development revolving loan fund and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council,
Mr. President?
Mr. Wallensack.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for passage of ordinance number 116 of 2024 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Wallensack. Seconded by Mr. Drake. We have a motion by Mr. Wallensack, seconded by Mr. Drake. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Wallensack?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mrs. Pauloff?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Solander?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, council. Ordinance 116 of 2024 does pass with a vote of 7 yeas and 0 nays. Moving on to item 117 of 2024, and again, I believe we're going to Mr. Roman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This resolution would allow us to accept the petition to vacate a 50-foot wide street that was Wesley from lot line 64 to 82. 100% of the abutting property owners did sign the petition, and us accepting this would move it on to the Planning Commission to make a ruling and get more information on it. Our engineers would review it and make sure, see if there's any easements that are needed, and it would come back to council after that. This is just to accept the petition.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council, any questions on item 117? Hearing none, I will assign item 117 of 2024 as ordinance 117 of 2024 and ask Ms. Snyder to read it into the record.
Declaring the intent of the city of Oregon to refer the petition from the abutting property owners to vacate the 50-foot wide Wesley Street from Finley Avenue to the north line of lots 64 and 82 in the East Hollywood addition in the city of Oregon to the Plan Commission for their recommendation in declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council.
Mr. President?
Mr. Wallensack.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for passage of ordinance number 117 of 2024 as an emergency measure.
Thank you, Mr. Wallensack.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Solander. We have a motion by Mr. Wallensack, seconded by Mr. Solander for ordinance 117 of 2024. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Wallensack?
Yes.
Mr. Solander?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mrs. Pauloff?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Ordinance 117 of 2024 does pass with a vote of 7 yeas and 0 nays. Moving on to item 118 of 2024, and this is presented by Mayor Michael Safarian and Police Chief Brandon Began.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you guys are aware, annually, we always bring this ordinance forward. This is for our participation in the Lucas County OVI Task Force. This allows us to participate each and every month into staffing in OVI checkpoints with Lucas County Sheriff's Department, as well as every month we receive X number of hours. Currently is set at 30 hours a month. That is for specific traffic enforcement related to OVI enforcement. Before you, this is our normal memorandum of understanding with the Sheriff's Department, as they are the grant writers and recipient of it, and then they disperse it out to members of the task force. This does require us to participate in the What's Holding You Back Click It or Ticket campaign, as well as the Drive Sober Get Pulled Over campaign, as well as some other miscellaneous events that occur, but those are the most common ones that have a well understanding with that. So happy to answer any questions.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Assistant Chief Spangler. Council, any questions on item 118?
Mr. President,
Mr. Drake.
yeah, I got a question for Mr. Spangler. So say if Springfield Township did a checkpoint, and does Oregon ever go out and pair with them? Do they have authority? Because are Oregon police considered deputy sheriffs?
So, Mr. President, Mr. Drake, no, we are not special deputies, but we do have a mutual aid agreement that is in place that is with Lucas County Sheriff's Department. And yes, each and every month, there is an OVI checkpoint that is hosted by the Lucas County Sheriff's Department. And we send 2 to 3 officers per checkpoint at the request of the Sheriff's Department.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Drake. Thank you, Assistant Chief Spangler. Council, any additional questions?
Mr. President, if I can just say one more
Please.
quick thing. Just understand that all of the overtime, this is all overtime, all of the overtime wages and including the fringe benefits are reimbursed through this grant back to the city of Oregon through invoicing. So I just want to make sure that there's no expense to the city of Oregon for our continued participation in this event.
Appreciate you adding that information. Mr. Walzak, does that cover your question? Okay, I thought it might. Council, anything additional? Hearing none, I will assign item 118 of 2024 as ordinance 118 of 2024 and ask Ms. Snyder to read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor, finance director, and chief of police to enter into a memorandum of understanding and a contract between the Lucas County Sheriff's Office and the Oregon Police Division to participate in a countywide OVI task force to provide targeted enforcement activity and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council,
Mr. President,
Ms. Paula.
I move for passage of ordinance 118 of 2024 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Paula.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Slander. Thank you, Mr. Slander. We have a motion by Mrs. Pauloff, a second by Mr. Slander for ordinance 118. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mrs. Paula?
Yes.
Mr. Solander?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Wollenzak?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Item ordinance 118 of 2024 does pass with a vote of 7 yeas and 0 nays. Moving on, the final item on our agenda for this evening is item 119 of 2024, presented by Mayor Mike Safarian and Public Service Director Paul Roman and other Mr. Roman. This one goes to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this ordinance is needed to enter into a sanitary sewer easement agreement with the property owner for the Brown Road sanitary sewer project. This easement is one of 7 easements that are needed for the project. And we are working on the other easements. Hopefully they'll be coming in the next couple of meetings. This property owner in particular, though, is not a part of the assessed project. And we certainly had to make an offer to them. We believe the other 6 easements we're hoping that they'll donate to the project because they're getting assessed for that same cost. And we told them it's like giving yourself a loan. That's all it is because there's interest added and so on. So, anyways, that's it. The description of the easement is in the back and that's it. Be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Roman. Council. Hearing no questions, I will assign item 119 of 2024 as ordinance 119 of 2024 and ask Ms. Snyder to read it into the record.
Authorizing the mayor, finance director, and director of public service to enter into agreement with Robert B. and Rose M. Belva for the acquisition of 120-foot permanent sanitary sewer easement for Brown Road east of Coy sanitary sewer project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Council.
Mr. President,
Mr. Slander.
I'd like to make a motion for passage of ordinance 119 of 2024 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Slander.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Pauloff. We have a motion by Mr. Slander, a second by Mrs. Pauloff on ordinance 119 of 2024. Ms. Snyder, will you please take a roll call vote of council?
Mr. Solander?
Yes.
Mrs. Paula?
Yes.
Mrs. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Horniak?
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Wallenzeck?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Ordinance 119 of 2024 does pass with a vote of 7 yeas and 0 nays. That concludes all the agenda items we have for this evening. We'll move into the mayor's report. Mayor.
No report.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me go down the list. Mr. Mazer. Oh, he stepped away. Ms. Purpura.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Purpura. Mr. Roman.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Ms. Polliff.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I just read them off the list.
Okay. No, I want to say congratulations to the fire department on winning your softball game. Sorry, Ryan. It was a good game. It really was. Everyone was professional. Everyone had good sportsmanship. And it really showed a lot of pride in our city, and you guys worked well together. Even though you were battling each other, I know that a lot of them are all friends together, so it was really nice to see. Thank you for that. Also too, Mr. Roman, I do know that heavy rain was really bad. The flooding was bad. There was a lot of people that were upset that their yards were really flooded, but it was a lot of rain and there are still a lot of flooded areas. So hopefully it won't be as bad Wednesday when Hurricane Beryl comes in. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that because already saturated ground, there's still a lot of it in Oregon. So anywho, that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Polliff. Mr. Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a Parks and Recreation Committee meeting and everyone was here, so thanks for the support and listening and your words of wisdom about the the new policy about dogs that we're trying to get an ordinance so they can have them at the rec complex and with the stipulations and things. And Tim gave a great upcoming events and the construction updates on the pickleball courts, hopefully by the end of August, he said. And we didn't make any kind of decision yet on the magnetic self-locks at the recreation restroom facilities, but I know it's a pretty good sized ticket item, but it's a lot better than using porta potties, in my humble opinion. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Wallenzeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Wallenzeck. Mr. Ackerman.
Nothing from my standing committee. I wanted to thank Mr. Reeves for the meeting and moving ahead with the inclusive playground and giving us information. I want to wish my partner here happy 6 months on council today. Where congratulations, Steve, 6 months.
Yeah.
And I wanted to thank the administration for working with Orchard Villa, which is in turn working with the Arbors and Charles Crest, because they're all doing this collectively, looking out for their residents. And I wanted to mention that, and he didn't say anything, but I know the administrator for Orchard Villa has worked really hard to get with the insurance companies for all of the people in the dementia ward, I don't want to say ward, wing of Orchard Villa. And some of them are helping with additional staff, some are not, and that's why we have this need. And I just want to thank the administration for stepping up and taking care of our population that's going to be directly in the most impacted area. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ackerman. Mr. Slander.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing from my standing committee, but congratulations to you also for your 6 months. I just wanted to kind of reiterate a little bit with Ms. Polloff there on the flooding, that one there too. So yeah, hats off to the streets department again, as always. I know I spoke to some customers, some residents that were having some issues, and I know that you guys were out there busting your butts is trying to keep up with everything there. So thank you for that. And I'm looking forward to the rolling market here on Wednesday as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slander. Mr. Drake.
No report from my standing committee. I just want to echo what Kathy said about the police and fire game. It was a good game. I want to thank Tommy Lambrick for umping, Dennis Wallenczak, and Steve Solander. Think everybody had a good time. Ended up being a closer game than I thought. And I agree with Steve, the street department, they did a great job. And I had very, very few calls, which I thought I'd get a lot, but everything went good. And I'm sure Paul Roman had something to do with that too, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Drake. And I have nothing from my.
Mr. President, I
Standing
am
committee.
sorry. If I might.
Go ahead, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you. Mr. Roman, I know Don Nelson did something extraordinary. Could you please give us a rundown of what happened? I know you sent out that email, but I think he needs to be
Well, I think.
a shout out for him for what he did, going above and beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Roman?
Yeah, there was a gentleman cutting grass along the ditch along the stadium, and I think it on the steep slope, it steep, tipped over. And I think his wife and I don't know if it was a daughter trying to help him get out of the ditch. She said a couple cars drove by and possibly even another city vehicle, but Don was driving by. And Don is our environmental specialist, had seen it and stopped and got out of the car and helped them. They were very appreciative of it, sent us an email, and then I had sent that to council to let you be aware of it. So yeah, we're very proud of Don, but I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thank you. That's why I brought it up. I thought he needed to be publicly commended for going above and beyond and helping somebody that it could have ended up very tragic. So thank you, Mr. Roman. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Thank you, Mr. Roman. And before I ask for a motion to adjourn, Mr. Mazer, you had stepped away during reports. Do you have anything to report this evening?
No report, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Council, with nothing further before us, I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Mr. Reeves.
so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Second. Seconded by Mr. Slander. Council, any objections? Meeting is adjourned. Really?